What is the amazing grace of God? It is an invasion of the sovereign love of God, penetrating the gap of darkness with the overwhelming power of His marvelous light. It bridges the gap between man and God. Take a journey through the amazing grace of God with your host, Sarah Abraham, as she shares the compelling stories of those who walked in His covenant and have overcome by the amazing grace of God. Join us weekdays this fall for Amazing Grace with Sarah Abraham.
Welcome to Amazing Grace. I'm your host, Dr. Sarah Abraham. Thank you for tuning in and watching Destiny TV. From all of us at Destiny TV, we welcome you. Thank you for your comments on social media, your emails, your phone calls, your prayer requests, your prayer support. We need it all. It's because of you we are able to bring amazing guests to you every day of the week. We have here Mr. Dwayne Mcdermott, the famous author of The Whispers of Gabriel.
Yeah.
Yes.
That was a book that I had in the making for quite some time. I started writing it around 2015 and we just got it published. I'm very excited to be here today.
Wonderful.
Miss Sarah Abraham.
Yes, sir.
With this prophetic name you have on Destiny TV.
Thank you.
I also like to just say special thanks to Sharon Jenkins. She was the one who got me invited here, and she's the one.
She is an amazing woman.
Yeah, she's the one behind a lot of the work in that book. So
tell me, where did you grow up? And
I grew up in
school
Southeast Houston, better known as South Park. I come out the generation, where you had the slow down music, the wheels sticking all off your car, all that. Matter of fact, I still got one to this day. But I grew up in an urban community where there was a lot of things, negative activity going on in the community, and I kind of just evolved with it. You know, I liked the fast money, I liked the going out and buying all the different clothes and things. And in 1993, God got a hold of me, because I thought people went to church was crazy. And if you gave money to church, I thought you was even more crazy. So I did not have no desire to do any of this, writing the book or anything. I dropped out of school in the 10th grade by the grace of God. I never had to do any prison time, never been on probation, never been arrested for anything like that. So when God revived me and saved my soul and redeemed me, I thought it would be real fitting to go into those areas.
Those communities.
Yes, into the prisons, into the juvenile detention centers, and that's where it's needed, because in the generation that God has called us, and when it comes to the fivefold ministry, I don't want to pastor nobody. You don't have to call me a preacher or anything, but I do teach, and I like to teach the Word of God. I get a great zeal out of teaching and bringing enlightenment in times like this, because it's getting dark out there.
And probably sharing the practical way.
Yes.
The Word of God, a practical way.
Yes. That's where the millenniums are taking it anyway. You know, it's the time of the passing of the baton, where a new generation is to come forward. And me being 44 years old, watching kids 18, 19, 20, they want to know God. They believe in right and wrong. They know it's evil and, good in the world, but they don't want the cookie cut religion. You can't tell them, if you just come to church, pay your tithes, accept Jesus, it's going to be all right.
You'll be saved, you'll be all right.
And that's not enough for them. They want to know what makes it tick. And that's where you get into teaching them how they're universal connected to everything. Our God is universal connected. It was man who caused diversity. God is a God that loves us all, and we're supposed to, in culture, supposed to trade and learn from one another. Instead, we took our evil ways and we started doing things that wasn't aligning with the scriptures. So when they start getting a understanding of that, especially with so many new religions and this new age movement going on with the new black Hebrews and all these different things, it's like, what do I believe? Even my son being 22, he come to me and he's been taught in the Word, and I had to shake my head and smile at him, because he's a grown man, but I let him know, where the foundation is. Keep it with Christ and you're going to be all right.
You'll be all right. And the other thing is, it's the Word of God never changes. It's the same yesterday, today, and forever.
Yes.
But the method of applying it, the method of teaching it, you got to come to the 20th century.
Oh, yeah. You definitely have to.
Because
if I'm in a setting and because I am a student of the Word, and you're just going on and you're rambling, I know when you're teaching the gospel and when you're not. And the generation that's coming forward, they're going to be able to detect the phonies. You know, they said that there's those out there just, you know, hirelings. They're doing this for money to gain attention. So that'd be my biggest resistance I have.
And I think the reason you see so much increase in gang activity is the sense of belonging.
Exactly.
They want to belong somewhere. They want to be accepted the way they are.
Exactly.
Like you said, they want the fast cars, the flashy clothes, and that lifestyle.
Yes, ma'am.
But then if you don't reach out there and says, hey, you don't have to belong there.
Yes.
You know.
I thank God because with my desires are coming in out of the world into a relationship with Christ, not religion. I never called myself religion. I despise religion from the day I came in because God is too diverse. If everything was about one set way of rules, the world would be a dull place. One flower, one color, one people, and God is a manifested being with a threefold character just like we are. So He loved diversity. He made the diversity. He made us
this
different.
Beautiful world of different colors, textures,
and uniquely all one individual. We all got our own set of fingerprints. So He was very strategic in making us unique and different to fit a global plan.
And gave us a free will.
Yes, exactly.
See, that's important. Animals does not have a free will. Their DNA, the way they are made is that all tigers act the same. All dogs kind of act the same. But see, the only human being God gave, the thing He created in His own image.
Yes.
With His own hands. He commanded others to be. And they came. But He formed us, fashioned us with His own hands.
In His
likeness. And He gave in His likeness. And He gave us that free will to choose.
Yes. And that's what in the book Whispers of Gabriel, you'll come across chapters that's written in that format where though we are unique in the aspect, but when He started, everything is energy. We moving at all times. We put anything on a microscope, it's vibrating, and it's moving, and it's motion. And when we learn that we're spirit first and not physical, then we become a greater understanding of the plans of God. We have been taught if you just live physically right, then you'll start understanding spiritual. No, He's made spiritual first. So once you put that in perspective, then you can connect yourself. Just like you said, in the animal kingdom, they care for their young just like we care for our young. So we're connected in a way. You know, the earth is 3/4 water, our body is 3/4 water. God put us here and connected us. Our lungs breathe what the trees need, the trees breathe what we need. So there is an exchange that God designed, and I write about it in the book Whispers of Gabriel.
So tell me, how did a 10th grade came to write this book?
Self-taught, really. Just sit back. One day I was at work. I was going to be Muslim, to be honest. I know Cornel X personally, grew up in the same neighborhood, dealt with some other things that I would talk about on TV. But I went to work. I took on a job. I was tired of seeing my friends go to jail. I went to jail for 3 days. That was enough for me. I was riding with some guys. Oh yeah, it was enough for me. I didn't want no more of that. Literally went home and flushed my drugs down the toilet and got in the newspaper and said, I'm gonna find me a job. I had a newborn son on the way. I was 19 years old, and it was time for a dramatic change. And I answered an ad for Academy Sporting Goods. So I started working there, unloading the trucks in the morning. So on my lunch break, they had a big tree outside in the back. I would go sit under the tree and just wonder about the things of God. And I had read about Gabriel visiting Mary. If you see in Luke 1:19, he say, I am Gabriel. I stand in the midst of God. I come to bring you good tidings.
Good tidings.
So I say, bring me good tidings. I want to know you in that way. I want to know if you gave him all these people that he talked to, why he can't talk to me. God, show us. And literally, I left there not thinking that it was an impactful moment in the spirit realm, but from there, the name Gabriel would stay with me, stay with me, stay with me. And over the years, I started writing, and I got off beat and then get back on beat because when I was in the 10th grade, though I dropped out of school, I got a very active imagination. And I was at school and I was running from the truant people. And I hadn't been in my English class in I don't know how many days, so I had to go this day. And he gave us a writing assignment. And it was an assignment that I took myself and put myself into place on the paper. And I never came back to the class. I did the assignment. So he caught me in the lunchroom. He said, you're such a wasted talent. Out of all the students, you was the only one to receive the 4 on your paper, which was the highest score you could make, and you was not even in class to receive your grade. You're a wasted talent. He walked out, but it made an impact. I was like, wow, he really thought I was that good of a writer. And from there, I started writing urban plays like a scapegoat guy coming home, went to jail as a Christian, come home as a Muslim. Now he got to fight to get his way back, and girl talk, women with different issues, little film I produced. And I just find joy. I find that's my gift.
So you have a creative talent in you. You know, people have to go to class in college to learn technical writing, creative writing, and here's his 10th grade dropout. You know, God has given you that gift.
God-given gift. That's what it is. That's all it is, because I thank God all the time. This morning I was in prayer for the most part of the morning because some things I know I could be doing better, and I know things that he want to do for me. And he's not going to always protect us and love on us and keep us, but he's not going to bless you outside his will. So he started forming and shaping, and when we go through that time, we have to accept it and go through it. So he's telling me in my life at this time, he's getting ready to do more through less.
Why did you choose to become a Muslim or try to become a Muslim? What was that attracted you?
Well, it was just like when people go to urban people out of the community, black men that have no guidance, no home training, no father in the house. Most time when they go to prison, they looking for structure. And Muslim, it teaches structure. And I love Muslim structure. I love it.
Just like we have missionaries going to prison, the Muslim people have missionaries going into prison.
Most Muslims there are doing time there.
They're doing time.
Yeah, like even with Malcolm X's story, he became a Muslim while he was in prison based on another Muslim that was in prison.
See, there are...
My stepbrother, the same way.
And then they are so sold out to their religion that they want to share. And some of Christian brothers, they're so timid about their faith.
Yeah. And I don't know why, because I'm bold. I was bold as a man of the world. What I did. I owned up to it, didn't care if you liked it or not. So when God said, approach my throne with boldness, I went in that same way. This is how I am, God. So you can use me however you see fit in this, and throw my hand up about it, you know, confess I know I ain't no good and I should be going to hell. And I'm telling God how he know me already. And then when we become honest with God and open up to God that way, that gives him the go ahead to allow our will to be changed to fit the will and plans that he has for us.
So when you came out of prison, you know, you wanted to be a Muslim.
Yeah, I was never in prison. I started going into the prisons because I feel like God spared me, so I need to go down there and help somebody. So I became a teacher. I never...
you said 3 days in jail then?
Oh, when I was in the county jail. That's just sitting in the city, riding in a car with no tags on it, being hard-headed, and they took us to jail for that. But I knew when I was in the county jail, I did not want to go to prison. I didn't want to go...
The big house.
But it's fascinating because through Word Restoration under Dr. Perry, Charles Perry, he have a great mentoring program where he allow people to go into the prisons with the church, and we have church with them, fellowship with them, and I have a real good time with that. I actually come across a lot of friends, been there 20 years, 30 years plus, and you know, like I say, I'm 44, and if you've been locked up for 20 years,
that's half your life.
Your whole life is gone pretty much. But you know, in the detention centers for the children, I was fascinated with the idea that I was there on assignment because we had a ministry that wanted to help them, and I was doing it, but I didn't know I was making an impact. Well, God was making an impact, and one of the kids that was there seen me years later on the street at a store, and he was like, man, I remember you. You came down there and you was talking about God. I ain't never been out in trouble since then. You made me feel so right.
That's wonderful.
I was like, huh? How you
that is wonderful.
I don't even remember you, man. I said, but give all glory to God so we can.
But see, you have to be the hands and feet of Jesus.
Yes.
You have to.
Exactly.
And that is the greatest testimony when you have touched a life and impact.
Yeah.
Like when I got into this television ministry, I said, man, there's 24-hour television ministry on there. There's this. Why another one? But like you said, you know, one or two of this testimony I get back, and I said, oh Lord,
yes.
If I was able to change that one life,
that's it.
It's worth it.
That's how it is for me. I don't look for the masses.
Because it's a chain reaction. Yeah. That one person could change 10,000 people more. We don't know.
Yeah.
who it is.
I love when Paul say it's not I or Silas, but it's God who bring the increase.
right.
One water, one planet, but it's going to be God to bring the increase.
Increase.
I had to learn that, though, because I used to get frustrated when I used to go back to the street and nobody wanted to hear about
So
God.
what was the foundation of the Whispers of Gabriel? What made you think about writing a book?
I guess I got to be honest. I had a little brother that I used to taunt. And, you know, this was I was a kid. And my mother heard me calling him gay.
Oh, I see.
And she got on me. So what I did, I came up with a code name, which
Gabriel.
is Gabriel. I would say gay, and I would taunt him with it. He knew what I was saying, but she didn't. And then it never left me. And so when I found him to be the word angel of God and see that it was the worship angel, which was Lucifer, Gabriel, the word angel, and Michael, the war angel, I'm like, wow, you know. Then when I started seeking information concerning things that what people overlook in ministry so much, we overlook the basics, and we try to get everybody to just say, if you don't do this, do right. It wasn't saying that. He was actually speaking to the heart and minds of men who had problems. He was coming to people who was doubting their faith. He was actually in the midst of God's presence, bringing great tidings to man, to uplift man. So then when the book came into fruition, it was just like the name was already there. Whispers of Gabriel, because when it comes to me, most people call it intuition, but I call it a whisper, because I could just be driving down the street, and if you see that on the book, I got those 3 sevens on there. Those are some,
Father, Son, and Holy
the
Spirit.
completed work of the Father, completed work of the Son, and the completed work of the Holy Spirit, which we know that in that book we talk about numerical systems and expressions of God, why he used why the Bible and the Quran are so full of these repeating numbers, like the number 12, the number 7. And so in that book, in the new book that I'm writing called Spiritual Dyslexia, I go more in depth how to decode your Bible through numerical codes. Like, for instance, the universal code for pi is 314, 1.4. That means everything started in a circle, everything across it, it's going to all come back to that same circle, no matter how big the circle gets. So when I read Exodus and see Exodus 3 and 14, and God said, I am that I am, everything starts with God and everything goes across. So he got the
That
code.
brings me to a joke. When I worked at St. Joseph Hospital, one of the cardiologists, his name was Dr. Anderson, and so he, before going into surgery, he just came and said, Sarah, do you know how I know that God is not black? And I'm thinking, no, he's black. Dr. Anderson is black. I said, no. He said, because if he was black, he would have said, I is what I is.
Instead, I am what I am that I am.
So when you said that.
Well, in the book, I actually talk about the first family, Cain, and the prehistoric man. Then we come into the first family with Adam and Eve and the Cain and Abel. And we talk about, I believe that the color densities came from that. Man was made of the dust of the ground, which was collected, could be any different time. It was a brown, black.
Red.
And the woman came from the bone, which is a softer touch, but it's still a bone color, white or whatever you want. Them are the only 2 primary colors we have for human beings. We don't have no purple ones, no orange ones.
Right.
It's either those 2, and that's why
Orange, unless you get radiation.
Yeah. But
I've seen some orange in MD Anderson.
Yeah. That's how I concluded. It rested my mind on that. It was like, oh, that's why we have.
See, there's another thing beautiful about the Word of God. It is alive.
Oh,
the way you read and you see is so much different than when I read and I see. You know what I mean? It is so beautiful.
Personally, everything about
so
it is
personal. I've read I'm a PK, a preacher's kid.
Okay.
So, the time I could read, I read it, and time before I could speak, it was like, memorizing the Word of God. And till I started doing the show, we did a week show on blended families, And then that one guest said, you know what, Jesus was from a blended family. I go, what? He said, he was not the real son of Joseph. And I said, wow.
Well, if you go back to the lineage of David and go back 42 different generations, you'll find that you had Ruth was a woman of color, you had Boaz was a Jewish man.
Yes.
You have all these different.
It's just blended.
Yeah, it's blended.
It's blended families.
Yes, yeah. And it was
it's
always
in the Word
that
of God.
way. Yeah. We took and put cultural differences on one another and started doing that to manipulate and take advantage, because if you go back to the third dispensation, well, that's what the book talks about. It's a systematic theology book. That way you can take the Bible and set it next to it and actually chart the time.
I just can't wait till to read. I'm a voracious reader. I'm addicted to reading.
You could chart your times, and then you could see when King Solomon said there's nothing new under the sun, what he meant. That the third dispensation is just the sixth dispensation with a whole new different cast of people. The same thing they were doing in the third dispensation, they were building a tower to reach the heavens. In the sixth, we trying to build technology to reach heaven. We're the same people, not the same exact people, but we're the same. Yeah. It's just the same thing over human government. Well, the first dispensation was innocent. Man was nude and didn't know he was naked. Then he became conscious and knew and was aware of his sin nature. Then God said, I'm going to provide for you. I'm going to take care of you. I'm going to give you skins of clothes from the animal, and I'll make the sacrifice for you. And it was typical of what Christ would do for us, of course. And then in the third dispensation, man decided, we don't want God no more. We're going to build this tower. And it was a black man. See, we don't never talk about the history when we come to blacks and white on how tyrannical black people were back then.
Wasn't it somewhere Moses' son or?
It's Noah's son.
Noah's son.
He had a grandson named Canaan. Nimrod is his name. If you read in Genesis 10, the 8th chapter, you'll see what God said. Nimrod is a mighty hunter before the Lord. I mean, he's doing things. They got the whole world on one accord, and he broke it down in 4 divisions. But he decided we didn't want to do the sacrifice that our forefather Abraham taught us. We just going to build this tower, and we're going to keep doing. And that's where a lot of what I talk about when the Masonic teachings come in, because I was in Masonry at one time, and God put me, I ain't gonna say he put me in, I went in out of curiosity, wanted the fraternity rights and all that, and I found this is where it started. It's got ancient ties to it, but when God showed me he wasn't the God of the lodges, I had to come out of it. So.
And it's amazing you got into Masonry, because they're pretty strict of who
and
they get in. It's by invitation only.
Exactly.
It's kind of like a secret society.
It is a secret society, and one of the oldest ones. When Cain first was dispelled from the garden, he didn't just go lay down and die. Lucifer started getting in his ear, gave him insight on how to make wars, how to communicate through secret handshake, codes of silence. He was giving him this information. Then he had a son named Tubal-Cain, which they started building magnificent cities. Before the flood, they said it was over 5 billion people on the planet at that time.
5 billion.
5 billion. Right now, we're looking at about 7 billion now. So
we haven't grown much.
From that world. So, and they was living extremely longer than us, So when you look at it from that point of view, you'll see that that Masonry code of conduct, it came all the way down, all the way through the history from first dispensation to the last dispensation, that is still in operation. One of our passwords, I would say, was Tubal-Cain. I didn't know what it meant. But when I read in the book of Genesis, the 4th chapter, that this was Cain's son who was responsible for making steel to build structure, it just popped in my head, because I worked in the gas and steel business, and one of the biggest steel companies today is known as Tubal-Cain. So from Genesis, making steel, all the way to today, still making steel to build these high-rise skyscrapers, that tower we talking about and all that. So we're more connected than what a lot of us get to understand with just going to what I call church for social enlightenment.
See, that's what, I read a book. I'm not very well versed with Masonry. Somebody who came out of Masonry, it's one of the pastor who was in there. And the way they make those connections you're talking in that book, it is just amazing. And to somebody who doesn't think all the way through, it could be very, very attractive.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, the fraternity right is what grabbed me. They don't even really have the real brotherhood. You got people like the presidents, Benjamin Franklin, all these people was tied to it.
Everybody who's who.
Yeah,
the
Michelangelo.
rich and the famous.
Michelangelo.
All of those people. Artists, poets, and presidents, even today.
Yeah, that was my initial reason for saying, or questioning it all, because it was so much good information. Why are we not giving this to everybody? Why we got to take these blood oaths to have this information? Sound like somebody took something that they don't belong and they're rationing it off, like the devil took all these great gifts.
And also they are understanding the importance of minority.
Yeah.
Before it was all white only.
Oh yeah, America getting a taste of it now though.
Now they know the things are changing. The power is shifting to the hands of minority. So when my husband was the mayor pro tem, they just invited him to come in and were giving him all this rights and stuff like that. And I said, oh, wait a minute, Thomas, wait a minute.
That's a good wife there.
I mean, yeah. So I
wait
said,
a minute.
and then good, influential friends of ours belong them. And like I said, it's by invitation only.
Yeah.
Nomination, they have a nomination committee, then they have an approval committee, then they send a letter. And I said, nope, 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 nope.
Yeah.
He said, well, Benjamin Franklin, all those lists. I said, wonderful.
Yeah.
But you don't belong there.
Yeah, God is not,
Yes.
I believe personally, God is not
And
the
also
God of the laws.
that pastor who came out, Richard Ford is his name, out of the Masonry, and he explained what the symbols mean, because he went through the whole thing. He
Yeah.
was in it for many years.
Yeah.
So he understood about what this means and that means and the secret. And he said, some of the secrets that I took oath, I would even share it.
That's why there's certain things I learned and I won't say publicly
You
like
can't
that
share it in
because
public, yeah.
it might come after me.
They
You never
will.
know,
They
but
will.
they
It's not-
said
they may. They will.
So it's
So-
certain things I learned in there,
Yes.
but the basic things that's out in there, like most of your major companies that support propaganda, that's all masonry. You name it, you'll
You
be
name it.
surprised how
Yes.
much is tied
Yes.
to it. You know.
I mean, almost who's who
Yeah.
is into Masonry.
That's why I say the
And
fraternity.
if you're a
right?
male.
You get in it and you get to wear your symbols and your ring and you know these head and it's for the fascination of the
secret
mind.
handshake
Yeah,
and
it
the
was just for
secret-
fascination of the
Yeah,
mind.
it's-
And we use the Bible when we open every large meeting, but the devil know the Bible because when you say you sit in the north as the worship master, and I read in Ezekiel 28:14 that Lucifer desired to put his throne in the north as the worship master. Wait a minute, that's
And they
making a
have that
close
terminology,
yeah,
worship
exactly,
master.
exactly. That was Lucifer's position. He wanted to
Yes.
move his throne in the north. Any operating lodge that you go in, the worship master sits in the north. I'm
Oh, as they do.
yeah, I say, wait a minute. I said, hold
Dwayne,
on, wait
it
a
was
minute.
such a pleasure having
Thank
you
you,
here.
thank you.
And what you are doing and this beautiful book, you can get it on Amazon.
Yeah.
And, the Whispers of Gabriel. We all need Gabriel's whispers
Yes,
once
yes.
or twice in our lifetime.
You know, when you start asking, you're going to show
Amen.
up, you're going to hear, you're going to be like, wait a minute,
Yes.
he's coming.
He's come, he brings you good tidings.
Yes, really,
so
what
just
is it?
invite him into your heart.
Exactly.
Everything else, invite Jesus into your
Yes, of
heart.
course.
That is the most important thing. And thank you for watching Amazing Grace. And remember, Amazing Grace is the power that bridges the gap between man and God.
Amen.
Thank you.